All right, with me to discuss it all is Jessica Post. She is the president of the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee. Jennifer Rubin is here. She is an opinion writer for the Washington Post. And Shermichael Singleton is here. He is a political consultant and host of Peacock's Screen Share. Welcome to you all. Okay, I want to start by looking at greetings to everyone. I want to start by looking at what this ruling really means for future rights. Okay, so I want you all to listen to these comments from former George W. Bush staffer Sarah Fagan in a panel on Meet the Press Now with Chuck Todd. This was yesterday.
There's not a debate about getting rid of gay marriage. You know, you have one Supreme Court justice. What
about Ken Paxton? I mean, the point is that nothing stays local anymore, I think is the important thing.
Yes, but I think Democrats start to overreach because when you start talking about, you know, protecting prescription drugs in the mail and figuring out some strategy to get abortions done on Indian reservations, it looks like abortion at all costs and that's not where the country is. Right. Sure, the country may say on its face, we don't want Roe overturned. Right. They don't want abortion on demand 24/7 for any reason at any time. That is not where the majority of the country is.
Now, Jessica, I was on that panel. Y'all saw my face. Are people wrong to worry about other rights in jeopardy? Was I being gaslit?
You were absolutely being gaslit. Look, we felt this way. Remember, the Republican Party has a long history of lying to the press, and also their Supreme Court nominees essentially lied when under oath in the U.S. Senate. And so absolutely. And look, Thomas obviously mentioned Obergefell, the ruling that protects marriage equality. He also mentioned Griswold v. Connecticut for birth control. The Republicans have this way of saying that you're hysterical. That's not going to happen. And the reality is it's happened every time. They also said, oh, no, you know, we're going to we wouldn't challenge a free and fair election. And then we had January 6th. So I don't believe them at all. And I'll also say, look, in the state legislatures across the country, Republicans want to take action to make same-sex marriage illegal, to ban IUDs. So all of this is happening in the states as well, as an undercurrent from what's happening here federally.
Absolutely. You know, Shermichael, I want to turn to you because it's no secret that the Republican Party apparatus has organized for decades to roll back Roe. And now that they have achieved that, I wonder if that is backfiring in some way, or could it backfire, particularly as it relates to women? Because overturning Roe doesn't just hurt, as I like to say, women that voted for Joe Biden, right, or Democratic women. It affects women, period.
Sure. No, I mean, that's a good point, Symone. It's so funny you bringing that up because I talked to a friend of mine maybe a week ago, right after this decision came out from the court. He's a Republican person, lives in Georgia, raises a lot of money, some very, very well-known Republican senators and congressmen and women. And he called and said that a prominent donor who's based in southern Georgia called him because his wife was so upset with the decision. And his wife does not support abortion. But her problem was she did not like the fact that the court was taking the decision away from the woman. And so my friend, who's Jason, I'll just say that's his first name, won't say his last name. He said, you know, Sherm, I'm concerned that this may backfire on us in the long run as it pertains to suburban women. What are your thoughts on that? And I said, man, I think you're right. I think we're playing with fire. We may win in the interim, but it's the long term, Symone, that I think some of these Republicans are not looking at.
See, I didn't even speak to Shermichael before this show, so I think we got something going on here. I want to turn to this idea of putting a check on the Supreme Court, because there are some congressional Democrats calling for that to be done, particularly Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She made the case for some Supreme Court oversight in an appearance on The Late Show. I want you all to take a listen to this.
The Supreme Court has engaged in the overreaching of its authority in denying the human and civil rights of any pregnant person or person that could become pregnant in the United States of America. They have engaged in overreach, and it is the responsibility of the president and Congress to put the Supreme Court in check because they have delegitimized themselves.
Jennifer, what do you think oversight like that could look like?
By the way, I just have to say that the woman who's the wife of the donor, what did she think repealing Roe was, other than taking the decision away from the woman?
Well,
so there's a lot shocked that there's gambling going on around there in the Republican Party. I think AOC is right. The Republicans have abused and distorted the Supreme Court such that it is no longer operating like a court. It's operating like a radical judiciary that is completely out of touch with the American people. And so what do you do when that happens? Well, it all begins with getting rid of the filibuster. Once you get rid of the filibuster, if you have the House and if you have the White House, then you can look at many kinds of reforms. I don't favor necessarily expanding the court because I think you just get into a one-upsmanship, but I completely agree that they should have term limits. If they're going to act like politicians, why should they have lifetime appointments? Politicians in our country do not serve for life. I also think we can adjust, and as explicitly says so in the Constitution, Congress can take away some of their jurisdiction, not have them ruling on state constitutional laws. So I think there's lots of things that can be done, but this begins with them shedding any pretense of any kind of judicial restraint, of precedent. This would not be happening if they hadn't been throwing out, it's not just 50 years, it goes back to 150 years of legal precedent. They want to take us back to 1868. That's what they've said, and that's what we can't allow to happen. So these elections coming up are absolutely critical. Referendum in the states for pro-choice forces, very critical.
There were a lot of bombshells dropped in Tuesday's January 6th hearing, like getting some insight into just how determined then President Donald Trump was to join his supporters at the Capitol for the insurrection. Here is Mark Meadows' former aide, Cassidy Hutchinson, describing what actually went down.
Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing."
We are back with our Power Pack panel, Jessica Post, Jennifer Rubin, and Michael Singleton. Jessica, how are Democratic voters responding at the local level to this latest testimony? Is it breaking through?
I think in the conversations that we've heard, Democrats across the country and are understanding that this January 6th thing may have been way worse than they thought. And the actions of President Trump, it just proves more and more that this Trump administration operated like an organized crime family between the witness tampering and also the actions toward the driver. So I do think this is really going to affect voters' perception of corruption and mobilize Democratic voters in November.
Okay. Jennifer, the committee closed the last hearing with some very explosive allegations that Trump allies actually contacted witnesses about their testimony. Apparently, Cassidy Hutchinson herself got a message from someone, and this is what that message said, quote, "A person let me know you have your deposition tomorrow. He wants me to let you know that he's thinking about you. He knows you're loyal and you're going to do the right thing when you go in for a deposition." Do you think this could amount to witness tampering or intimidation in a court of law?
Absolutely. You're exactly right when you say that this is like an organized crime ring here. Nice career you had. Sorry if anything should happen to it. I mean, this is like movie script kind of stuff. It's absolutely witness tampering.
It sounds like it to me. I was, again, gobsmacked that this happened at the end of the hearing. Now, the vice chair of the January 6th committee, Liz Cheney, as folks know, she is running for re-election in Wyoming, and she recently faced off with some of her competitors. And it was just crazy. I want you guys to hear what Congressman Cheney said towards the end of the debate with her opponents. Take a listen.
People need to know something about me. I will never put party above my duty to the country. I will never put party above my duty to the Constitution. I swore an oath under God, and I will abide by that oath. I won't say something that I know is wrong simply to earn the votes of people, to earn political support. So I'm asking for your vote, and I'm asking you to understand that I will never violate my oath of office. And if you're looking for somebody who will, then you need to vote for somebody else on this stage, because I won't. I will always put my oath first.
Now, a number of Liz Cheney's competitors, they have broadcasted just broad-based conspiracy theories, and they have attacked Liz Cheney for her role in the committee. Michael, do you think the Wyoming Republican Party is too far gone, or does Liz Cheney still have a chance here?
No, I mean, look, I think it's ridiculous, some of the things that they've done as it pertains to Congresswoman Cheney. This woman is an authentic conservative, as textbook as they come. And I hope the voters realize that and vote for her over some of the other crazies.
I think we have some time left. I want to go to this tweet from you, Michael, actually. I want to put a pin in the Liz Cheney conversation for a second, because I want to circle back. You tweeted this: several former associates who still have high-level positions within Republican politics who all agreed that the GOP should seriously think about 2024 and who will be the standard bearer for the Republican Party going forward after today's testimony. This is where I want to end. I want you to elaborate on this for us, Michael, and then I want to invite the rest of the panel to weigh in, because this is connected to Liz Cheney. She has been the most visible Republican here, attempting to hold the president accountable.
I mean, Symone, they think this stuff is crazy. And every single person, and you know this, you and I have talked about this in private, there's not a single person in politics, in the bubble, if you will, on Capitol Hill, who will not tell you what people are saying on background. They want this stuff to be over. They want to move on. They're just not saying it publicly. And so while I think there are a lot of ardent Trump supporters who will always believe in the president, a lot of people in D.C., a lot of people on Capitol Hill are hoping that this hurts Trump so that in 2024 there is somebody else Republicans can put their money and support behind.
All right, Jennifer Rubin, very quickly, I'm sure people talk to you very on background or off the record. I'm not asking you to divulge your sources, but do you hear the same thing Michael is hearing?
Absolutely. And you're seeing a lot more interest in Ron DeSantis, who is no picnic, but it's representative of the fact that Republicans are looking for another place to land. They won't renounce Trump, but they might find somebody who is a lot less crazy, who they aren't going to have to relitigate 2020 about in the next presidential election.
All right, Jessica Post, I know you're hearing it, okay? You're trying to elect people at the local level for Democrats. So thank you all for being here. Jessica Post, Jennifer Rubin, Michael Singleton. Appreciate y'all's time.